Hello and welcome to the Three Will Podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan. Today I have Sir Eric Bowden here with me. Hello, Eric. How are you doing?
Hey, Danny. I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
I just knighted you. How about that?
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Well, thanks for joining me in here. It's late in the day, so I've got my coffee right here beside me in case I start falling asleep, and you got to hit me on the back of the head if I do as well.
That's right. It's kind of dim in here.
It is. It's nice and relaxed.
It's kind of chill.
Yeah, it's a little hot though. You know, I guess they started turning the heat on, and now it gets too hot. But
That's true.
Well, today let's just catch up. Let's talk about one of the recent projects that you've been on. And I know when we were talking a little bit earlier about it, you were saying, "Well, it's more process related than technology." I'm like, "Babe, we talk about process all the time on this podcast."
Yes.
It just happens to be one of the ways that projects are successful, and usually the key way that a project is successful. So, no issues with talking about process.
Right.
So,
That's
give me a little bit of background on the project. I know we're
Yeah.
not going to bring up the client name because just keep it anonymous. But
Sure.
just give me a little bit of background on the project itself.
Sure. Yeah, and I think as I introduced, you and I were talking about it. I think years ago, coding, programming, that was my hammer, and that I hit every nail with. And as time goes on, process has really become my hammer. Not that many people know that, but that's where I think that most projects. I think that's where the most challenges are on projects are around process. It's more around identifying what needs to get done and tracking our progress toward that goal, and and making good decisions as we're progressing along. This particular project, so it was a little bit of a mix of process and technology. So there's some engineering tasks, but it was a project that had started. The client had, they had been working on it internally for probably in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 months, and it really didn't have a lot of process around it. So there were things that they maybe thought they were accomplishing, but really wasn't being tracked, and just not really a feedback loop on the project. So I got involved just about maybe about a month ago now, and they had a concern at the time was really more around architecture.
Okay.
So this is a portal site. They use it to communicate with external entities, and there were about 39 of those external entities, so they're going to have 39 portal sites, and they're using Nintex workflows for various purposes. And the design path they were going down was leading toward a number of workflows in the neighborhood of about 700.
700 separate workflows?
Separate workflows. I'm looking at you to let that sink in.
Really?
Exactly. Yes. So the project manager there, recognized that, hey, wait a minute, I think we might have a problem here. This is going to be a maintenance issue down the road if you have that many workflows. And so we have been working with this client, great relationship for years, and they contacted us to kind of come in for an architecture review. So that's how this started, was an architecture review. This really wasn't, we weren't thinking process at the time. So I take a look and I say, recognize some updates that could be made. There's some libraries and some workflows that can be combined and so forth. So that we ended up with 2 workflows per site, per 39 sites to maintain.
Oh, I thought you were per 350 sites.
No.
It was like, Eric, well done.
Per 39. So, from an architecture standpoint, resulted in a net
We're
gain.
down to 80.
Yeah, which is good. That is a reasonable amount, because there's some benefits to copies of to multiple copies of these workflows, and that comes into the fact that the downside is you have to change it across 39 sites, but the upside is that you can change it to one site without having an impact on all the others. So that was a reasonable place to land, and the customer, and I work collaboratively with the team, so we had some really sharp folks, professionals on the team to work with, and so we all kind of arrived at these enhancements together. But where that led to, and it's kind of where I sort of naturally gravitate toward, is thinking about how are we going to get this project to the finish line? What is this project? Where are we trying to go? And how are we going to get to that end result? And that, what we do to achieve that is we start building a product backlog. So we're in the Scrum process, and I started building out a product backlog, and my desire is, I just love to see projects complete and fulfill their mission. And so that's really where I was heading toward, was hoping that the client would engage us so that I could help, bring this project to the finish line. And ultimately that's what happened. So it was really a great way to kind of lead in to an engagement. And so we started, and it was a collaborative team, me working with, from a process side, from coming to architecture and a tech lead side, helping them get to the finish line. But they had engineers, they have a product owner and a QA tester that had been working on the project previously, and they continued, and just really, an experienced team. So they just really merged in with the process right away.
Nice. You like finishing things. You and Tom, you get along.
Yeah, we do. We are such. I think of myself as a closer.
Yes.
And to an obsessive degree. Sometimes.
I'm nothing without you guys. I need your help to finish things off. But
you have that entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. You're the opener, the possibilities.
It drives me as nuts as it probably drives you guys, though. But
it doesn't me, because I'm such a natural closer that that I have to seek out those that that want to open up and take some risk and so forth. So.
Always be closing, Eric. Always be closing.
That's right. No problem. No, I can't help it. But anyway, it's been we're just about a week from being ready for user acceptance testing, and it's just been a really great experience.
Did you use 2-week sprints or longer sprints, or what did that look like?
Yep, we were on 1 week. Sprints, for a short project like this, which I think it was about 6 weeks in total. We like short feedback cycles, so it's just 1 week sprints. Of course, we have daily stand-ups. That's an even tighter feedback cycle, and our tester was pretty much active. We were releasing builds, of course, during the sprint. You don't want that sprint review to be the first time that your features are being tested, or that your product owner is putting their hands on the end result. We also had a very active product owner who was right behind the QA tester.
Nice.
Accepting the results. So really a neat model project for, I think, how process can really make a big difference.
Did you feel like the project was sort of building momentum once, because typically when you come in on a project that's floundering, you're just looking for something to build some momentum to get you going in the right direction. Did you feel that way with this project, or what was how did this end up?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that is the case. I would agree that is the case on a lot of projects. This particular one, and I kind of pointed this out to the team, and I will tell you that within the first week, the product owner was just amazed at the results. And I know I'm kind of patting my own back, but that was the feedback that I was getting.
Well, you're Sir Eric Bowden, so you can pat your back as long as you want to. I mean, jeez.
But the reply that I gave was, and it's true, is that while this project was floundering, which it did for let's see, in the neighborhood of it might have been as long as 6 months. While that was occurring, what they were doing was they were refining the requirements. Mm-hmm. So the technology side was, and the implementation side and the progress was kind of zigzagging back and forth, but they were coming to a better conclusion as far as what they actually wanted. And so when I started, we didn't have all a lot of the understanding requirements and them deciding what they wanted to do. That had already really been firmed up. So that was a fantastic springboard, really, for me when I got involved and kind of got the team organized and turned in a little bit different direction. It was just a fantastic springboard for us to, really make great progress in the first week.
Nice. Anything else that was unique about this project at all?
I don't know. It was a decent combination of out of the box configuration with a little bit of app dev. There's a little bit of custom code in the background for copying files, but mostly out of the box configuration and Nintex workflows. So that allowed me to really, I'm the coder, so I'm doing some coding on the project, and then we had another engineer who was doing more of the configuration, and that was a good aspect of the project, was being able to sort of divide up and say, there's a ton of work that needs to be done here, and it's all, configuration, and then there was less work need to be done that was coding. So,
was that another three-wheeler, or who was that? Was it someone from their team that was helping doing the config?
The configuration, yeah. So that was an engineer from the customer who'd been involved, actually to a lesser extent, on the project as it had initially started, and then that person became more involved. So,
and did we do the QA, or did they do the QA?
Yeah, no, it was their QA team. So they had an engineer doing the configuration, performing the QA, and a product owner. And then, me from the engineer, from the process and coding standpoint. And we did have a three-wheeler join for a little bit for some of the Nintex workflow support that was really useful. So we have a couple of folks here who are doing Nintex workflows, and it's great to be able to add them onto the team briefly.
But about to say, you sound like a one-man turnaround artist. I don't know if you want to do that for every project, right? You're like, oh, this is just it can wear you out coming into one that's, floundering and trying to, that's tough stuff. It's not, what project here at Three Will is easy? I'd like to see that one. I don't know if we take on those types of projects around here.
I don't know. It's a finish line.
Yeah.
You show me a finish line, and that energizes me. It's hard to turn it away, honestly. So I enjoy it. I love those kind of projects.
Well, you're awesome. We are so lucky to have you here, Eric, and appreciate you filling us in on this project. Love all the stuff you're doing. I tried to slow you down with stuff about Trove and Channel, but you just, I'm trying my best to slow you down, but there's no slowing you down, man.
Eye on the target.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this, Eric.
Sure, Dan.
Really
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.